Welcome to this English learning podcast, where you improve your English naturally while listening to a powerful message that can quietly transform the way you think about your life. Today we are going to explore one of the deepest and most important questions that human beings have asked for thousands of years, and that question is how to find inner peace. Many people believe that peace is something that exists somewhere outside them, waiting to be discovered after they achieve success, earn enough money, buy a house, find the perfect relationship, or receive recognition from society. They spend years chasing goals, believing that happiness is waiting at the finish line. But when they finally arrive, they often discover that the feeling they expected lasts only for a short time before another desire appears and another race begins. This happens because inner peace is not a destination that can be reached through external achievements. It is a way of living, a way of thinking, and a way of relating to yourself and the world around you. The journey toward inner peace begins not when life becomes easier, but when you begin to understand yourself more deeply. Think about how many thoughts pass through your mind every single day. Some thoughts are useful, some are creative, some are hopeful, but many are filled with worry, comparison, regret, fear, and self-doubt. The human mind has an incredible ability to imagine the future and remember the past, and while this ability has helped humanity survive and grow, it has also become the source of much unnecessary suffering. A person can sit alone in a quiet room, completely safe, and still feel anxious because of thoughts about tomorrow. Another person can remember a mistake from 10 years ago and feel pain as if it happened this morning. The mind often creates storms that are not happening in the present moment. Inner peace begins when you learn that you are not every thought that appears in your mind. Thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky, and you are the sky itself. The sky does not become damaged by the clouds that move across it, and in the same way, your true self is deeper than the temporary thoughts and emotions that come and go throughout the day. One of the greatest misunderstandings in modern life is the belief that being constantly busy means being successful. People wake up and immediately check their phones, read messages, look at social media, respond to emails, rush through breakfast, hurry to work, worry about deadlines, return home exhausted, watch television or scroll through endless videos, and then fall asleep with a mind that has never truly rested. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and months become years, and many people suddenly realize that they have been surviving instead of living. They have been reacting to life instead of experiencing it. Inner peace requires moments of stillness. It requires the courage to pause in a world that is always moving. It requires sitting quietly for a few minutes without needing entertainment, distraction, or constant stimulation. At first, this may feel uncomfortable because you begin to hear the noise that has always been inside your mind, but gradually that noise becomes softer, and beneath it you discover a calm presence that has been waiting for your attention all along. Imagine a lake on a windy day. The surface of the water is constantly moving, and because of the movement, the lake cannot clearly reflect the mountains, the trees, or the sky above it. But when the wind becomes calm, the water becomes still, and suddenly everything is reflected with remarkable clarity. Your mind is like that lake. When it is constantly disturbed by worry, anger, comparison, and fear, you cannot see life clearly. You make decisions based on emotion instead of wisdom. You react instead of responding. You become trapped in patterns that do not serve you. But when your mind becomes calm, even for a few moments, clarity begins to appear. You start to understand what truly matters and what can be released. You begin to notice that many of the problems that once seemed enormous were made larger by the stories your mind was telling about them. A young professional once believed that success would solve all his problems. He worked late every night, accepted every project, answered emails during meals, and sacrificed weekends because he believed that one promotion would finally allow him to relax. After several years, he achieved the position he had dreamed about. But instead of feeling peaceful, he felt even more anxious because now he had more responsibility, more expectations, and a greater fear of losing what he had gained. He realized that he had trained his mind to chase achievement, not to experience peace. The promotion was real, but the inner restlessness remained because it had never been addressed. This story is not unusual. Many people spend their lives climbing ladders without asking whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Inner peace invites you to ask a different question. Not only what am I achieving, but also who am I becoming while I achieve it. Comparison is another powerful thief of peace. In today's world, it is easier than ever to compare your life with the lives of others. You open a social media application, and within a few minutes, you may see someone traveling to another country, buying a new car, getting married, receiving an award, starting a business, or celebrating an important milestone. Without realizing it, you begin to measure your own life against these carefully selected moments. You forget that every person has struggles that are not visible on a screen. You compare your ordinary Tuesday with someone else's extraordinary highlight. This creates a feeling that you are behind, that you are not enough, that you should be doing more, earning more, looking better, or achieving faster. But life is not a competition with strangers. Every human being has a different path, a different starting point, different opportunities, different challenges, and different timing. A tree does not compare itself with the flower growing beside it. The tree grows according to its own nature, and the flower blooms according to its own season. Peace becomes possible when you stop asking why your life looks different from someone else's and start asking how you can fully live the life that has been given to you. Gratitude is one of the simplest and most effective ways to return to inner peace. Gratitude does not mean ignoring difficulties or pretending that everything is perfect. It means recognizing that even in the middle of challenges, there are still things that deserve appreciation. You may have food to eat, clean water to drink, a place to sleep, people who care about you, the ability to learn, or the opportunity to begin again tomorrow. The human mind has a tendency to focus on what is missing, and this tendency can make even a fortunate life feel empty. But when you intentionally notice what is already present, your emotional experience begins to change. Imagine ending each day by remembering 3 simple moments that brought you comfort or joy. Perhaps someone smiled at you. Perhaps you enjoyed a warm meal. Perhaps you completed a task you had been avoiding. Or perhaps you simply watched the evening sky. These moments may seem small, but they remind your mind that life is not made only of problems. It is also made of countless quiet blessings that are often overlooked. Another important step toward inner peace is learning to let go of the need to control everything. Human beings naturally want certainty. We want to know what will happen tomorrow, next month, and next year. We want other people to behave the way we expect, plans to unfold exactly as we imagined, and life to follow a predictable path. But reality is different. People change. Opportunities appear and disappear. Health can improve or decline. Relationships can deepen or end. And unexpected events can alter the direction of our lives in a single moment. Much of our suffering comes not from change itself, but from resisting change. Imagine holding a handful of sand tightly. The harder you squeeze, the more sand slips through your fingers. But if you hold your hand gently, the sand remains. Life is similar. When you cling desperately to outcomes, you create tension. When you learn to participate fully while accepting uncertainty, you create peace. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is the wisdom to recognize the difference between what you can influence and what you cannot. There was an elderly gardener who spent many years growing vegetables and flowers. One year, a severe storm destroyed much of his garden. His neighbors expected him to become bitter and angry, but instead he calmly began planting again. When they asked how he could remain so peaceful after losing so much work, he smiled and said that he had learned long ago that he could control his effort, but he could not control the weather. He could prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water the plants, and care for them with love, but he could not command the wind or the rain. His peace came from focusing on his responsibility rather than demanding control over the entire universe. This lesson is deeply relevant to all of us. We can control our actions, our words, our habits, and our attitude, but we cannot control every result. When we release the impossible burden of controlling everything, we discover a surprising sense of freedom. Forgiveness is another doorway to inner peace that many people avoid because they misunderstand what forgiveness means. Some believe that forgiving someone means approving of what happened or pretending that the pain was not real. But forgiveness is not about denying the past. It is about refusing to let the past continue poisoning the present. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day filled with stones labeled anger, resentment, betrayal, disappointment, and regret. The longer you carry it, the more exhausted you become. Forgiveness is the decision to put down the backpack. It does not erase history, but it changes your relationship with history. The person who hurt you may never apologize, may never understand your pain, and may never change, but you still have the power to free yourself from the prison of constant resentment. Peace grows where forgiveness is practiced, because forgiveness returns your energy to the present moment. Many people search for inner peace in distant places, but often it begins with the way you speak to yourself. Listen carefully to your inner voice. Is it encouraging or constantly criticizing? Does it say, "I am learning," or does it say, "I always fail"? Does it remind you of your strengths or only your mistakes? Imagine speaking to a close friend with the same words you use toward yourself every day. You would probably realize that you are much kinder to others than you are to yourself. Self-compassion is not laziness, and it is not an excuse for avoiding growth. Self-compassion is the understanding that you are a human being who is learning, changing, and doing the best you can with the awareness you currently have. When you make a mistake, learn from it, but do not build your identity around it. A single failure does not define your future. A difficult season does not define your entire life. The way you treat yourself during hard times determines whether you become stronger or simply become more wounded. Nature offers one of the most beautiful lessons about peace. Spend a few minutes watching a tree. The tree does not rush. It does not worry about whether it is growing quickly enough. It stands through sunshine, rain, storms, and seasons, and it continues doing what it was created to do. The river does not force its way through every obstacle. Sometimes it flows around rocks instead of fighting them. The sunrise does not ask for permission to appear. The stars do not compare their brightness with one another. When you spend time in nature, you begin to remember a rhythm that is older than human anxiety. You remember that life has seasons, that growth takes time, that rest is natural, and that not everything needs to happen immediately. Even a short walk in a park, a few minutes looking at the sky, or the simple act of feeling the breeze on your face can help calm a mind that has become overwhelmed by artificial urgency. Your body and your mind are deeply connected, and inner peace becomes much more difficult when your body is constantly exhausted. Many people underestimate the power of sleep, nutrition, movement, and breathing. They search for complicated solutions while ignoring basic needs. A tired body creates a tired mind. A dehydrated body can increase feelings of stress. A lack of movement can make emotional heaviness feel even heavier. You do not need a perfect lifestyle to begin creating peace. Start with something simple. Take a short walk. Stretch for a few minutes. Drink more water. Breathe slowly and deeply for 1 minute before responding to a stressful situation. Small physical actions can create significant mental changes because the mind and body are always communicating with each other. As you continue listening, allow these ideas to settle gently in your mind rather than trying to remember every sentence. Inner peace is not something you achieve through pressure. It is something you allow through awareness. You are already carrying many responsibilities, many dreams, and perhaps many worries. For the next few moments, simply notice that you are breathing. Notice that this moment exists. Notice that right now, while listening, you do not need to solve your entire future. You only need to be present enough to hear the next word, the next sentence, and the next breath. Sometimes peace begins with nothing more complicated than that. One of the most powerful truths about inner peace is that it is often found in the ordinary moments that people usually ignore. We tend to believe that happiness must be dramatic and unforgettable, but life is mostly made of small experiences. It is made of the quiet morning, before the world becomes busy, the sound of rain outside the window, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the conversation with someone who listens without judgment, the satisfaction of completing a simple task, and the feeling of returning home after a long day. When you learn to pay attention to these ordinary moments, you begin to understand that peace has been available much more often than you realized. The problem was not that peace was absent. The problem was that your attention was always somewhere else, chasing the next achievement, the next possession, the next approval, or the next distraction. A peaceful life is not necessarily a life with fewer responsibilities. It is a life with greater awareness. Many people spend years trying to become someone else. They admire successful people, confident people, attractive people, intelligent people, and influential people, and gradually they begin to believe that they must change their personality completely in order to deserve happiness. They hide their true interests, suppress their emotions, and behave according to what they think others expect from them. This creates a painful distance between the person they are and the person they pretend to be. Maintaining that distance requires enormous emotional energy. Inner peace grows when you stop performing and start living honestly. This does not mean sharing every thought with everyone or refusing to improve yourself. It means allowing your life to be guided by your values rather than by constant fear of judgment. The more authentic you become, the less exhausted you feel, because authenticity requires far less effort than pretending. A teacher once asked a classroom of students to hold a glass of water in their hands. The glass was not heavy, and everyone held it easily. Then the teacher asked them to continue holding it for several minutes. After a while, their arms began to feel tired. The weight of the glass had not changed, but the longer they held it, the heavier it felt. Worry works in the same way. A problem may be real, but carrying it continuously without rest makes it feel much larger than it actually is. Sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is put the glass down for a while. Rest is not a reward that you earn after becoming perfect. Rest is a necessity that allows you to continue living wisely. Many people feel guilty when they are not being productive, but a mind that never rests eventually loses its clarity, creativity, and strength. Even the strongest machines need maintenance, and the human mind is far more delicate than any machine. Another obstacle to inner peace is the belief that you must have all the answers before taking the next step. Some people postpone their dreams because they are waiting for certainty. They want to know exactly how everything will work, exactly what will happen, and exactly whether they will succeed. But certainty is rarely available at the beginning of any meaningful journey. The person who starts a business does not know the future. The person who learns a new language does not know when fluency will arrive. The person who begins a healthier lifestyle does not know how long transformation will take. Peace is not created by having complete certainty. Peace is created by trusting that you can handle uncertainty one step at a time. Courage is often quieter than people imagine. Sometimes courage is simply waking up and trying again even though yesterday was difficult. Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls many times, but no one concludes that the child is a failure. Falling is understood as a natural part of learning, yet when adults make mistakes, they often become harsh judges of themselves. They forget that every skill, every achievement, and every meaningful relationship includes moments of failure, confusion, and embarrassment. Inner peace requires permission to be imperfect. Perfection is an impossible standard that constantly moves farther away. The more you chase it, the more inadequate you feel. Excellence is different. Excellence allows mistakes, learning, adjustment, and growth. A peaceful person is not someone who never fails. A peaceful person is someone who does not allow failure to destroy their sense of worth. There was a man who spent years collecting expensive possessions. He believed that each new purchase would bring lasting satisfaction. He bought a larger house, a luxury car, expensive watches, and the newest technology. But after a short period of excitement, each possession became ordinary. He found himself searching for the next purchase, convinced that the previous one had simply not been enough. One day, he visited a small village where he met an elderly craftsman who owned very little but seemed remarkably content. The craftsman worked slowly, spoke gently, laughed easily, and appeared completely present in every conversation. The wealthy man asked him how he could be so happy with so few possessions. The craftsman replied that he had spent many years discovering that comfort is pleasant, but peace is different. Comfort depends on what you have. Peace depends on how you live. This distinction changed the wealthy man's life because he realized that he had been investing heavily in comfort while neglecting peace. A peaceful mind is also a disciplined mind. This does not mean a rigid or harsh mind. It means a mind that is not controlled by every impulse and every emotion. Imagine a boat without a captain. The wind pushes it in one direction, then another, and it drifts wherever external forces take it. Many people live this way emotionally. A compliment makes them feel valuable. A criticism makes them feel worthless. A success makes them feel superior, and a failure makes them feel hopeless. Their emotional state is constantly determined by external events. Discipline allows you to respond rather than react. It allows you to feel emotions without becoming their prisoner. You can experience anger without becoming cruel, sadness without becoming hopeless, fear without becoming paralyzed, and excitement without becoming reckless. Emotional discipline is one of the foundations of lasting inner peace. The practice of mindful breathing may seem too simple to be powerful, but simplicity is often misunderstood. Your breath is always with you, and it has a direct connection to your nervous system. When you become anxious, your breathing often becomes shallow and fast. When you are calm, your breathing becomes slower and deeper. By intentionally slowing your breath, you send a message to your body that you are safe. Even 1 minute of slow breathing can interrupt the cycle of stress that many people remain trapped in for hours. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause before reacting. Inhale slowly, hold the breath gently for a moment, and exhale even more slowly. Repeat this several times. You may discover that the situation has not changed, but your relationship with the situation has begun to change, and that is where peace begins. Another important lesson is that boundaries protect peace. Many people lose their inner calm because they say yes when they want to say no. They accept responsibilities they cannot carry, tolerate disrespect they should not accept, and remain available to everyone except themselves. They fear disappointing others, so they repeatedly disappoint their own well-being. Healthy boundaries are not selfish. They are an act of wisdom. Just as a house needs walls and a garden needs a fence, your emotional life also needs protection. You are not required to attend every argument, solve every problem, or meet every expectation that others place upon you. Sometimes the most peaceful sentence you can say is, "I cannot do that right now," or "I need some time," or simply, "No." Every time you protect your energy, you create space for what truly matters. Many people believe that confidence creates peace, but often peace creates confidence. When you are constantly seeking approval, you become dependent on other people's reactions. You hesitate before speaking, worry excessively about mistakes, and change your behavior to avoid criticism. But when you become more peaceful inside, you become less afraid of being misunderstood. You realize that no matter how kind, intelligent, or successful you become, some people will still disagree with you, criticize you, or fail to appreciate you. This is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is simply part of being human. Freedom begins when you stop trying to control everyone's opinion and start living according to your conscience. A quiet confidence grows naturally when your self-worth is rooted in your values rather than in applause. Silence has a remarkable ability to reveal what noise hides. If you spend time alone without distractions, you may notice dreams that have been ignored, emotions that have been suppressed, and wisdom that has been waiting patiently beneath constant activity. Many people are afraid of silence because silence brings them face to face with themselves. But the relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship in your life, because every experience you ever have will be filtered through your own mind. If you cannot sit peacefully with yourself for a few minutes, no amount of external success will completely satisfy you. Learning to enjoy your own company is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Read a book, write in a journal, walk without headphones, or simply watch the sky. These moments of solitude become places where your inner world begins to heal. Gratitude becomes even more powerful when it is combined with service. One of the surprising secrets of peace is that helping others often helps us. When we become trapped in our own worries, our world becomes very small. Every problem feels enormous because it occupies the center of our attention. But when we encourage someone, listen to someone, teach someone, support a friend, or perform a small act of kindness, we step outside the prison of constant self-focus. This does not mean ignoring your own needs. It means recognizing that human beings are deeply connected. A smile, a sincere compliment, a patient conversation, or a simple act of generosity can create meaning that no purchase can provide. Many people search for purpose while overlooking the opportunities for kindness that appear every ordinary day. Imagine an old bridge that has carried thousands of people across a river. The bridge remains strong not because it avoids pressure, but because it was built with a solid foundation. Your life also needs a foundation. If your foundation is comparison, approval, money alone, or constant achievement, then every challenge will shake you deeply. But if your foundation is built on values such as honesty, compassion, patience, gratitude, and integrity, then you become much more stable. Storms may still come, disappointments may still happen, and losses may still occur, but you are not destroyed by every change in circumstances. Inner peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of a strong foundation that allows you to remain centered even when life becomes uncertain.